this week's live investor agent webinar, and welcome aboard for those of you who've been through some of the sister programs, Flipping for Profits and Rental Profits Without the Pain. Also, actually a lot of you have already registered for, there's a separate webinar next week that's just on property management. I'm going to discuss the training program for that. It's actually going to be kind of a learning exercise for you, just like a lot of other things we do. But that is going to be on Wednesday the 5th. That's next Wednesday. Next Tuesday the 4th is going to be our regularly scheduled investor agent webinar. So if you haven't registered for the property management one and you want to do so, I would go ahead and do it. I think Beverly's only sent out one email, and so far well over 60 people signed up. So we're probably going to hit that 100 limit by the end of the day tomorrow if I'm seeing things correctly. So I would go ahead and register if you want to, if you haven't already. So in any case, let me check the question box real quicker before we continue. I think we're okay. And welcome aboard for all the new folks. If you are new, if this is your first weekly webinar, just a little bit of background. This is live and it is being recorded. Right now we're recording. You can use your question box to type in questions. From time to time I will unmute you, and you'll be we can hear you on your audio just like you can hear me. We'll do that from time to time. These are recorded, and the recording is sent out usually the very next day, and it's also loaded to the website within a matter of days usually. So if you can also, when you see these on the member section, you can download them and save them on your hard drive and keep them forever. They're yours to keep. Okay. So in any case, just a little bit of history on where we are. We have gone through all of the marketing this year. So if you look back, starting back in late January through, I think, early June, you can get a copy of all the webinars on all the marketing campaigns. And then also, back in January, from, say, the week between New Year's and Christmas to the last week of January, there's a lot of the mechanics, a lot of the calculators are going over, things like that. So what we've been doing lately is just basically responding to your request to talk about certain subjects. And that's typically what we should do anyways. I want you guys to tell me every week what you want to go over, and that's what we'll do. And it's live. We don't stop until we're done. And it's win-win for everybody. So in any case, to tonight's subject, 3 parts. First part is the school report. I'm going to describe how it's built again, and how we use it, and what you should do if you want to have a school report. Next thing we're going to do is go over the Opportunity Evaluator, which is the most popular calculator for looking at rental property returns. Okay, we'll do some what-if scenarios there. And the third part is the booklet, which is one of the most popular marketing campaigns. We'll bring up an example of another student, and we'll go through it section by section, and we'll talk about how you actually use that too. I won't just go over how it's built, but more importantly, how you actually use it in your business. Okay. So first things first. This is an example of a school report. Now, just to kind of qualify things, please remember that this is a model, and in different parts of the U.S. and Canada, we will change the model. For example, up in Canada, where I go and spend my spare time, we don't use school district. The top row up here, all of these columns are school districts. Hopewell's a school district, Butler, South Butler, Mars, Seneca. Okay, up in Canada, we actually use what we call the area field or area code, not as an area code as a phone number, but it's an area field on the MLS because we don't have school district up there. In parts of the U.S., for example, in Virginia, we won't use a school district here. We'll use the high school name, okay? In New York, and I was just up in New York a couple of weeks back for 2 weeks, what I suggested there is that when I looked at the Queens area, the borough, Brooklyn and Bronx, is that this should be zip code up here. Because if you look at Brooklyn, for example, I think there was like 70 some odd zip codes. So zip codes will work very well in as far as your column headers up here. All right. Down the left side is your price ranges. So what we want to see in any area, we want to see what's active, we want to see what's sold, and we want to see it in price bands, 50,000 up to $500,000, and then we go 100,000 after that, and all the way down to a million, then we go 250,000 brackets there. So for example, this right here, this number 35 in the top left corner, the first cell, is a result of an MLS search that's saying, for Hopewell, give me all the properties that are actively listed in the price range between 100 to 150,000. And that result is 35, and we put it in that cell. So this spreadsheet, as you might imagine, takes some time to build initially. In fact, on average, it takes about 2 hours. But then once it's built, you only have to update it every 90 days. It's a 90-day report. So you refresh your searches every 90 days, plug in the data, and you're home free. But all of your searches are already built. You don't have to rebuild them, okay? So in any case, the point is this, is instead of each of you building this individually, I highly encourage you to have your receptionist at your market center build it, okay? And you need to obviously have your team leader approve this. In most cases, they do. But then they would put it on the resource page of your office's website, okay? That way it's available to all agents in the office. It's kept on your resource page on your inter-office website, so it's not open to the public. However, I suggest you show this to your clients. Absolutely show this to your investors. Let them see how they can use this to make good decisions on where they should be investing. So in any case, real quick, let me do a quick pause and check for questions here, because this I want to make sure we're going to step through this in a logical fashion. So let's see, we actually have a question here. This is Joe. Oop, hang on, I just lost my spot. Hang on, where did Joe's go? Here we go. Oh, Joe, hey, long time, man. So Joe's from Northern Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, Gary, my silver registration expires tomorrow, and I'm missing several webinars that I failed to save. Is there an archive? Yeah, hey Joe, if you go to the member section on your, go to the website, go to the member section. You're a student, go to the student section, and from there you have to kind of drill down, but you'll see a section with all of the recorded webinars on there. They're all out there. If you have any questions, just email Beverly, and she can point you in the right direction. But they're all out there for you. There's probably well over 100. I just suggest, Joe, just download them. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think we're good on questions. Okay, so back to this. All right, here's how we use it. Let's just assume, for example, you're using this for traditional agency. You're using this for regular owner occupants. If you look at all these fields, your eyes are probably drawn to this section over here, because this is where all the activity is. So the point is, if you're going to spend marketing dollars and spend your time and spend your energy and spend your gas in your car, you want to go to areas where people are actively selling and actively buying. And you can see in this whole big area right here, the upper right-hand quadrant, if you will, there's a lot of activity on the listing side and on the buying side. I would never suggest go down here and where there's the bottom left quadrant where there's a bunch of zeros and ones and twos and spend your time, energy, and money. I know the price points are higher, but you know what? Nothing's moving. There's nothing, nobody's selling, nobody's buying. And you might feel good about putting a stick in the yard, a sign in the yard, but if it doesn't sell, what's the point? I mean, you're spending your time, energy, and money and not getting any results from it. You're not getting any commissions from it. So the point is you want to go to the areas where there's the most amount of activity on both the selling side and the buying side, listing side and buying side, okay? Now, in the case of a flipper, for example, this is extremely critically important. And the reason is when you're flipping a home, just put yourself in your investor's shoes. When you're flipping a home, you want to go to an area where you have inventory to purchase. You can see there's plenty of inventory here. And the second to the, if you go to the far right, the last active column under Seneca, you can see people are selling. If you go to Mars, the fourth column in, you'll see people selling there. So you've got inventory that can be sold, and you also have inventory that you have people buying the inventory. Okay, so very, very important. If you're using, the reason this is important for your flippers is your flipper has to have inventory to purchase, number one, before they can buy something to remodel, and they definitely want buyers to buy their inventory once they've remodeled those properties. That's why this is so important. So real quick, let me take a quick check here. I saw another question come in. Let's see, that was Joe. Oh, you're welcome, Joe. No problem. Okay, I think that is it. All right, so back to this. I want to make sure everybody understands, first off, how this is built, and number two, why we use it so much and why we think it's so valuable. So just give me a quick shout out in your question box. Let me know that you understand how this is built and how and why we use it. Because if we got that, I'll go ahead and move on to the next subject. If not, let me have the questions now while we're covering this, and we'll spend all the time you want. I don't want to move too quickly, but some of you have already seen this a number of times, and you're probably ready for the next section anyways. But for a lot of the newer folks, this is kind of building on what we learned in the classroom when I actually taught at the Market Center. So now is a good time to refresh your memory. Repetition is the mother of learning, guys, and repetition is the mother of success. So I promise you, the more you see this and the more you use this, the more successful you're going to be. So let me do a quick pause and let you guys catch up. Okay, let's see. Okay, so far we're getting all positive and affirmative answers, right? That's good news. Okay, is it okay for me to go ahead and move on to the next subject, which is using the opportunity evaluator? And so if everybody's saying yes, absolutely. So I'm going to close this out, because hopefully it'll free up some energy. Okay, so let me close this. And then we'll go here. Oops, I think it just, oh, here it is, all right. There we go. So let's go here. Okay, can everybody see the Excel spreadsheet now? This is what we call the opportunity evaluator. And I'm going to slide my bar over so it's more visible. There we go. Okay, now it's fully in view. Whoops. Just slid back over. Hang on 1 second. There we go. All right, if you're okay, I'm going to slide my control panel back over so that it frees up the full view. So let me do that. Okay, we're good. Okay, opportunity evaluator. I do personally really like this one because it's a simple Excel spreadsheet. All of the calculations are done for you. In other words, all the formulas are built behind the cells. All you have to do is simply plug in your variables, plug in your data, okay? And you can do a lot of what-if scenarios using this calculator. In other words, let's say you're looking at a listing that upon initial glance looks like it may make a great investment for you and for your client, and then you plug in the numbers that you're given from the listing agent or the owner directly, if that's the case, on here, and it looks like it's not such a good deal. Well, you can use this to play around with the numbers and ask questions. Well, what if we lowered the price? What if we raised the rents? What if we increased the down payment? What if we lower the interest rate? So forth and so on. So let's go ahead and plug in an example. If you guys have an example, shoot them to me, and I will plug them in. I'll bring my panel back over just in case. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and plug in an example myself. So let's say the initial purchase price is $500,000. Okay, 500,000, one more zero. There we go. And let's determine that we're going to put down 20%, which is $100,000, which means our loan, the borrowing we're going to do is going to be for $400,000. So let's do that, $400,000. So in other words, all your purchase information goes in this first block, all the mortgage information goes in the second block, and all of your income information goes in this third block here. So in the second block, you can see you can enter as many as 3 mortgages. Now, I'm hoping you'll only have to enter 1 mortgage or 2 at most, okay? In this example, we're purchasing a $500,000 property, and we're putting down $100,000, which means we have to borrow $400,000. I'm going to assume the number of payments per year is going to be 12, because there's 12 months of the year. I'm going to assume a 4.5% interest rate. I can get actually better right now. Matter of fact, let's just make it 4%. Okay, we're going to amortize it over 20 years. okay? And the loan term is also going to be 20 years, all right? And we can change this. I can make the amortization 30 years and make the term 20 years. And what that would look like is your payments would be based on a 30-year term, but at the end of 20 years, you'd have 10 years left of payments left, or what we call a balloon payment, all right, a remaining balance, okay? But for now, let's keep it simple. We're going to do a 20-year loan, amortized for 20 years, 4% interest rate, and a payment every single month. And that tells us we have a mortgage payment every month, principal and interest, of $2,423.92. Okay, so far so good on our mortgage balance and our mortgage payment. Now back up here in the purchase information, you can see it automatically deducted the $400,000 loan from the $500,000 purchase price, which leaves a balance of $100,000, which is your down payment, your initial investment, okay? Now you can see here you can add in points, you can add in additional acquisition costs. We can do, let's just say we're going to add, let's say $15,000 in additional closing costs, all right? And we'll just leave that at that. We'll assume no points on the loan. All right, so far so good. We've got our purchase information and our mortgage information. Now the next thing is the fun part. We're going to actually add in all of our rents. So let's say we've got a $500,000 property, and let's assume this is a 10-unit building, okay? And we're going to have in here, let's just say we've got, let's say we got one 3-bedroom unit. Let's say we got 4 2-bedroom units and 4 1-bedroom units. So in other words, over here on the left, this is your makeup of units. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 3 bedroom, 1 bath. You can change this all you want. See, this is an editable field. So if you buy a building that has a different mixture of units, then you would put those in accordingly. Over here is the number of those units. Okay, so we got 4 1-bedrooms, 4 2-bedrooms, and 1 3-bedroom. Actually, sorry, let's make that 2 3-bedrooms. All right, and the total units is 10. Let's say the monthly rent on each of these 1-bedrooms is, let's call that $1,500. Okay, and let's say the average rent on our 2-bedrooms is $2,000. Okay. And let's say the average rent on our 3-bedrooms is $2,500. You can see over the period of a year, 2 units at $2,500 is $5,000 per month times 12 is $60,000. So in other words, the Excel spreadsheet calculated 2,500 times 2, which is 5,000, times 12, which is number of months in a year. Now, these numbers are probably a little bit exaggerated. I mean, the reality is actually they're probably not that far off. Although in New York, this, where I just was the other week, this would probably be more like $1 million, easily $1 million for a 10-unit building. Okay. Well, we're just gonna use this as an example and play with it. All right. So, in any case, so far so good. We can see we got $228,000 coming in gross rents, gross receipts, just on the rent so far. All right. Now we're not done yet. Oops, hang on one second. Let me slide my panel over because I need to be able to control the cursor. Oops, let's do this. Bring up some of the expenses. So far I'm going to bring that out of view because we got $228,000 in gross receipts. I'm going to assume a 2.5% vacancy rate, okay, which is going to cost us $5,700 a year in vacancy, right? Other income affected by vacancy, let's say we have laundry there, and laundry is going to bring us in $1,000 for the year. Okay, all right. You can see now our wait a minute, that's other income affected by vacancy. Let's leave that zero. Sorry. I'm going to come down here and say we're bringing in $1,000 a year on laundry income. Okay, not a bad gig. I can tell you, I have an apartment complex where we're bringing in about $10,000 a year on laundry income. Okay, pretty nice. We call that our vacation money. Okay, so we got our income. We've accounted for vacancy and laundry income on top of that. Okay, now we come down here on our expenses. And let's say our expenses on that property, on a $500,000 property, let's say our property taxes are $10,000. Okay, it's probably going to be more than that in areas like Montreal and, of course, New York. I know there's up near White Plains and Yorktown Heights. Boy, property taxes are killer. In fact, I'm in Reveal. You could probably tell me the same thing. I bet in the Bronx. I bet on a $500,000 property, I'm willing to bet people are paying maybe $20,000 in property taxes. I could be wrong. So, in any case, let's assume there's no personal property taxes. Let's say property insurance is going to be, let's say that's $5,000 a year. Okay. Now, as you can see, when I type this in, these ratios are affected over here. Okay. This is, in other words, real estate taxes are making up 4.5% of your gross operating income. Property insurance is making up 2.2% of your gross operating income. All right, and so far your operating expenses only have these two figures, and combined they make 100%. These fields will be populated and they will change as we fill in more data. Let's say management. Let's say that's 10%, so we're going to say that's $20,000 a year. Okay, it's probably a little high, but let's just call it $20,000. We're not going to have any payroll. We are going to have maintenance and repairs, materials. Let's say materials in labor. Let's call that 25,000. Let's say 25,000 in material and 25,000 in labor for maintenance and repairs. Okay. Utilities. Your tenants are paying gas and electric, but let's say the owner, you or your client, if you're the investor, it's you. If it's your client, it's them, paying water and sewage. And let's say they're paying, should we make that five? Let's make it 5,000 and 5,000. Okay, that's probably really high, but let's just see what happens here. 5,000 water, 5,000 sewage. You know what? That's probably really, really high. Let's make it more like, let's make it 2,500 and 2,500. Okay. All right. Now let's move down here and see what we got. So far we're really racking up the expenses. I think maintenance repairs are still pretty high, but let's leave it the way it is right now. Or let's say advertising. Let's call that 500 for the year. Supplies, I'm going to figure we've already got materials up here. Lawn care, and so under these categories here, let's say trash is, let's make that 500 for the year. Lawn care, let's call that 1,000. Snow removal, 1,000. I mean, depending on where you live, that could be low or that could be non-existent, actually. So we can see our operating expenses are really chewing up a lot of our income. Okay, in fact, it's probably 41%. Okay, that's, in other words, all your expenses come to a little over 40% of your gross operating income. All right. Now, if we go down here, we look and see that our debt service, mortgage, principal, interest are costing us $30,000 a year. So if we subtract that from our net operating income, which is $130,000, we're left with about $100,000 in cash flow with a cap rate of 26%. Well, this is a wild example, but if you guys ever run across something like this, call me, and I will fund the entire thing. So obviously this is not very realistic. I don't care where you are, even if you're in one of the lowest priced areas in the U.S. and Canada, this is pretty much unrealistic. Although I've had cap rates over 20%. Okay, they can be found, and the way you find them is to get in the game swinging the bat. So let's see, what do we got to do here to make this more realistic? Probably based on, if we're in New York, this is probably going to have to be $1 million. If this is somewhere like, let's say I'm in Western North Carolina right now. These would probably be low rents. So let's change the rents for now. Let's see. Well, let's make this $1,000 for a 1-bedroom, $1,500 for a 2-bedroom, and $2,000 for a 3-bedroom. Let's see what happens to her. See, now gross receipts drops way down. Let's come down here to income. You'll see her income dropped down by about about $55,000 and some change. So let's see what happens here. We still have an awesome cap rate, 14%. Debt coverage ratio is well above what the banks want, typically 1.75, sometimes as low as 1.25. But I always err on the side of caution. I look for a debt coverage ratio of 1.75. And in case you're wondering, debt coverage ratio, guys, is it's the amount of income that's left after all of your expenses that's available to cover your debt service. That's what the bankers are looking at. Okay, that's a good ratio. So you can see this is still a pretty darn good deal. And you're getting $42,000 cash flow, and you're only putting down $100,000. That's pretty darn good. All right. So, in any case, let's do this. Let's raise those rents back to where they were. All right. And then we're going to pretend we're up in New York. By the way, if any of you have not been to New York, oops, that should be 2,500. The best food is in New York. I mean, just unbelievable. I had the best food up there. It was crazy, and I love Southern cooking. But boy, that New York, unbelievable. All right, so let's make this property $1 million. That's $1 million right there. Let's make our loan now $800,000. Okay, and let's see what happens here. Now we're putting down $200,000, 20%. Acquisition costs, let's make that $25,000. Okay, and we can see our mortgage payment now goes up to $4,800 per month. We still have decent gross receipts coming in. Let's keep the expenses the same, and let's see what happens down here. Now check this out. You've got a cap rate of 13%, debt coverage ratio of 2.25, and you're bringing in decent cash flow on a $200,000 down payment. You're bringing in $72,000 in cash flow. Even on the total purchase price of $1 million, effectively you're looking at a 7% cap rate, but we know it's higher than that. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here. We know it's higher than that because we have to account for our expenses, and when we look at cap rate, we do not include debt service. That's why the cap rate's 13%, because cap rate is your net operating income divided by your purchase, which is $1 million. Okay, cash on cash return, on the other hand, is this number here, your cash flow after expenses and after debt service divided by your down payment, or basically acquisition cost plus down payment, which is $225. So you can see cash on cash return, $72,000 divided into $225. That's about a 30% cash on cash return. So I tell you what, if you can get this deal in the Queens or Brooklyn or Bronx, New York, or Northern New Jersey, I would do that. All right, let me slide my panel back over, guys, and let me look for questions, because I want you to give me some suggestions. What do you want me to do to play around with this, to play with the term, to play with the interest rate, play with the down payment, play with the price, play with the rents, play with the expenses? Or if you could just give me a shout out and let me know that everything I'm showing you makes sense, and you have a better understanding now of how to use this cash flow calculator. So if you guys could type something in your question box to let me know that, I would greatly appreciate it, and I will go back and go through and look for questions. Let me go back up to the beginning. Oh, there's a lot here. Hang on one second, guys. These things kind of came in backwards for some reason. All right. So this is Anthony. Hey, Anthony. Anthony says, we have a number of schools serving different area. Would it be better to use the city names? So, Anthony, it depends on your area. The reason we like school districts and high school names is a high school will service a couple of different junior highs. that are serviced by a couple of different elementary schools. So demographically, it does give you a nice snapshot of your area. In other words, it's not too big, it's not too small. And in the more densely populated areas like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Houston, New York, Washington, D.C., I would rather you use the high school name versus the school district name. Okay. Now, if you're in a part of the country, this includes Virginia, I believe Florida, possibly South Carolina, where your school systems go from the state level to the county level, but you do not have a local school district level, then you definitely want to use your high school or use a zip code in some cases. There's other fields you can use, by the way. I know, like in New Jersey, there's a field called a section field that's used for when new developments are made, and they're out there going back, I don't know how many, generation at least. You can use that as another delimiter in your school report. So the answer is it depends on your area, but I would start, Anthony, I'm trying to remember where you are. I think you're up in New York too. If you're in the Queens or Brooklyn or Bronx, start with the zip code. If you're in northern New Jersey, start with the high school name, okay? Let's see, New Jersey, okay, gotcha. This is Ariana. Hi, Ariana. So Ariana is asking, hang on, Ariana, let me get back to your question here. Okay, so we're looking for more solds than active, right? Yeah, primarily, Ariana, if you're using that school report to service a flipper, you definitely want to have an area that has volume. There's people are selling and people are buying, but you definitely want to look specifically in areas where there's more people wanting to buy than sell, because that means the properties will sell more quickly. Like in the example I gave, I'm going to guess the average days on market was about 30 days. So it's a good observation, and you're absolutely right. I like the scenario with more solds than actives. Okay, so this is Fassel. Fassel says, what happens if you don't have 100,000? Can you get 100,000 hard money down as down payment and then refinance in 6 months if you add value? You can do that. So Fassel, I gave an example. Early on in my investing career, I already had a handful of properties, and I had enough equity built up. I had probably 10, 12, maybe 13 properties, and I owned them for more than a year. I had raised the rents and improved the buildings to raise the rents, and I went to a commercial guy, and what he did is he allowed me to pull out the equity of my existing properties to make a down payment on a next bigger property. So the answer is yes, you absolutely can do that. Now, if you don't have properties at all, then you're going to have to go to a different route, like private money, family, friends, co-workers who want to be silent investors, for example. They can provide the funding for the down payment, and then you have your money for your down payment. Then you can get a traditional mortgage for the remaining balance. There's a number of ways to skin this cat, Fassel. There's a little bit of info in Module 6 on this, but also what I would do is I would call that lender. I'm gonna have to get her contact information. I gave it to Hans. Hey, Fassel, check with Hans. Her name is Elizabeth, and she's operating in New Jersey and a bunch of other states, and she's able to access funding in a lot of situations. So, and again, Fassel, how is it built? So I think you must be talking about the school report, Fassel. So the school report, what we did go over earlier in this session, but it's essentially the result. Each cell is a result of an individual MLS search based on area, price range, and whether you're looking for active or sold. Those are the three criteria. Okay, so let's see what's next. We got Jackie. Hey, Jackie. How do I get that report in New Jersey? So, Jackie, the report has to be built by you or someone at your market center. It's not something you can get online. It has to be built in the market center. I just encouraged you to ask your team leader to have the receptionist build it and put it on the resource page so all the agents in the office have access to it. Okay? Let's see here. Okay, you're welcome, Jackie. All right, let's see. Joey answered that question. Okay, hang on one second. Let me go to the next one. August says hi and thank you. I thought there was another question up here. Hang on one second, guys. Okay. All right, I think we're almost caught up. What are we looking for? ROI. This is Ravel. So Ravel is asking, are we looking for ROI, cap rate, cash on cash return? What's most important? Okay, Ravel, that's an awesome question, actually. So, all right, let's take it one step at a time here. Initially, what everybody's taught is cap rate, which is your net operating income divided by the total price of the property. Okay. And by the way, this is in module 2 of your material. That's the simplest ratio to calculate, or the most common. It's what everybody uses as a benchmark. Now, the reality is, though, investors who actually succeed and stay with it and over time progress, they'll start to lean more towards cash on cash return. Cash on cash return, again, is your final cash flow in pocket, not just after your expenses, but also after your debt service. It's true cash return. And that's divided by your outlay, your cash outlay. How much would you put down on the property? What was your acquisition cost? Okay, that gives cash on cash return. Having said that in that order, I will tell you, cash on cash return is the absolute king of the ratios. It's what every savvy investor eventually moves towards, is what you guys should move towards. And the folks who have been at it for a while, they're all going to ask you, what's my cash on cash return? Okay, so let me go back here real quick. Ravel, let me make sure I finished your question there. These questions got a little out of whack. Okay, there it is. Cash on cash return, cap rate, ROI. ROI is that's return on investment. I think you might have meant NOI, net operating income, but NOI is your of course your cash flow after your expenses, but not debt service. Okay. Okay, let's go back here because I think there was another question. This is from Martinez. Hey, Martinez. Okay. Do you ever consider amenity pricing for upgraded units, new appliances, top floor, etc.? Absolutely. So in any building, for example, I've had buildings where the first 4 floors were your typical 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, and then the 5th floor was made up of 3 bedroom. I hated to call them penthouses because they really weren't penthouses, but they were nice units with their own private decks and everything. You better believe I charge more per square foot for those units. So absolutely, if you've got higher end fixtures like granite countertops, nice plumbing features and so forth, and lighting and carpeting, absolutely charge more money. But Martinez, I got to tell you, you can, just like in the flipping market, in the rental market, you can price yourself out of the market, and there's a certain price point beyond which tenants just simply won't pay. They're just not going to pay for any stuff, right? Let's see. Let me go back here to more questions. That was Ravel's. Okay, this is Rocco. All right, Rocco says, can you use this as well from flips? Well, so Rocco, there's a different calculator that we use for flipping. We look at after repair value. We look at maximum allowable offer, and those are all covered in Module 2. What we'll do is, so Rocco, we'll do a separate session just on that. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and do that next week, because this has come up a lot recently, is showing those other calculators, and I will do that next week, Rocco. But what I just showed you a second ago, that really is only relevant to rental properties. So Rocco says, I do have a live EG. Hey, Rocco, let me know what you mean by that, by EG, okay? More than 1 million? Okay, well, that's good news. So Rocco, let me know what you mean by EG, because I'm not familiar with that acronym. It could be short for something, short term, or shorthand for something. Okay, let's see. Rocco also says, Gary, can I have questions? Yes. For some reason, Rocco, these are coming in sorted by asker and not in sequential order. I have no idea why it's doing that. Let me go down here real quick. Let's see, that was Jackie's. So Jackie says, can you buy any properties without no money, with no other investors? The answer is yes, but it's just very difficult, Jackie. One of the things we emphasize is we want to get you guys into the mode of using cash. Ultimately, we want you to be on a cash basis. In fact, I'm on a cash basis. When I first got started, I was borrowing, I was leveraged up to 80% and sometimes even 90%. But that's a very risky proposition. See, the more leverage you are, Jackie, what happens is when life happens, what's going to happen to your position? In other words, let's say you're leveraged at 95% and your cash flow is very tight because you're too highly leveraged, and then something happens. You get divorced, you lose a job, somebody dies, you have a car accident, major injuries. When life happens, that's when you do not want to be highly leveraged. That's when you want to have solid equity and cash flow. So what we want you to do, we know a lot of you are wanting to start off by borrowing as much as you can to get as much as you can, and we get it because me, like a lot of other people, did the same thing. But I will tell you, if you use that as your mode of operation long term, eventually it's gonna bite you. It's just a fact of life. Something's going to happen, and you're going to find yourself on the short end of a stick. And it happened to Dave Ramsey. I mean, one of the most popular guys in the North America. He had to declare bankruptcy because he was too highly leveraged, right? And in fact, Ron LeGrand declared bankruptcy years ago. Same thing, commercial problems. So in any case, the answer is you have to find those opportunities. You can use the marketing campaigns I give you, like the letter, for example, to find those opportunities. And then you just have to structure your offer in such a way that's going to be appealing to the seller. But just be prepared for a lot of no's. A lot of sellers are not going to be too thrilled about receiving offers with no money down and they're being asked to finance the whole thing. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Let me go back down to the questions and see where I am, and then I'm going to work my way backwards. Okay. Let's see, Anthony. Oh, Anthony. Ocean City, that's right. Right outside Atlantic City. I'm sorry. Okay, what about initial repairs, painting, and updating? How is that entered into the chart? Okay, so Anthony, what you do over here is if you look over here, you see acquisition costs. You can actually add that in. In other words, if you're putting down $200,000 and you've got $25,000 in closing costs, but you've got to make another $50,000 in improvements before the place is going to be considered a marketable condition, you add that in here, right in this line right here, acquisition costs. I know it's a misnomer, but that's actually where you put it. There's another calculator, Anthony, called the Rental Property Reporter. That's the one that's online. It's the live real-time calculator. I'll go over that next week also. In fact, unless we have time tonight, I'll do it tonight if we have time. But that one's where you actually have a separate category for initial improvements upon purchase. In other words, you purchase it, you make the improvements, you raise the rents, and now you've got a greatly improved property. But for this calculator, this is where it goes, right? Okay, that was Anthony. Let's see. Let's see. We have, okay, we answered Anthony's question there. And we answered Ariana's. Vassal's in his car while listening. Hey, thanks, Vassal. I appreciate your dedication, man. Okay, he was asking about the money. We answered that one. Jackie, we answered that one. Let's see, Joe, we answered that one. Okay, I think I am caught up on, oh, here, let's see. Yeah, that was Martinez. We answered that one. Rocco, we got that one. Okay, let's see. So Rocco says, can you send me the asset manager thing? Hey, you know what, Rocco? I just found the disc yesterday. So I have the disc with me, and I've got it in my daily planner. So I'll load it in the computer tonight, and I will send that to you, okay? Okay, let's see. Okay, all right, so Rocco says, my approach is to do this a few flips before I can buy to hold. I don't have the fund to buy and hold. Hey, Rocco, I really appreciate your position too, man. I know a lot of us do that. We flip first to raise capital to buy the properties. But I tell you that the general consensus right now is because of the type of shift that we're in, if you can just have the patience and buy some rental properties first, It establishes a solid foundation. And then when you go to do a flip, let's say the flip doesn't work out the way you want it to, you're still in the investing business. You're not knocked out. A lot of people who flip first, if they eventually make a mistake, which happens to everybody, it knocks them not just off the horse, but it knocks them out of the game, out of the race, because they're stuck. They're basically back to ground zero. So it's a really conservative game, but I can tell you that people who buy rentals first never ever, almost never have problems, right? They just, I wouldn't say that. They don't have big problems. Like they don't, they can flip houses, and if the house doesn't do so well, they're still in the game, That was really the notice the message I was trying to make. So Rocco says, I noticed the market is changing. Boy, you better believe it's changing, Rocco. We should probably do a, hey, Rocco, I'll tell you what, approaching local banks, let's go over that in one of the webinars too. Probably, if not next week, the week after. And I'll make notes on all this so I can keep track of what we're going to be talking about, because I want to go over how you approach these banks. Good question too. All right, so that's Rocco. Yeah, can I get a deal like that now? Yeah, really. Okay, I think we've covered all the questions. Let's see. Roger says, can you put the closing cost into the mortgage? Hey, Roger, it depends on the lender and the lending programs that they have. There are a number of lenders that absolutely will do that. In fact, with more traditional FHA style financing, a lot of them will let you roll in the financing into the mortgage. With more conventional style and commercial style, they don't really like to do that, but some of them will. In fact, the lender, let's see, Michael's on here. Michael was in the Yorktown Heights office. Hey, Michael, do you have the name and number of the lender that was there? Her name was Elizabeth. I've got her information. It's just out of my car. But I want to send that to you guys because they operate in a number of states, at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Virginia, and she can show you what programs are available in your area, and more importantly, what they will allow you to do as far as closing costs go. Okay, let's see. I think I just caught up on all the questions. Let me go back to the bottom to make sure I'm completely cleared up. Let's see here. Yes, I think we got through them all. Okay, let's do this, guys. We're at 7:52. Let me bring up the booklet real quick and show you this. Okay, and again, every week we can do more and more and more and more. All right, so I'm going to slide my panel over so everybody can see this completely. All right, this is from a guy named Dave Gambasini. He was in the program he was from Boston, Mass. Went through last summer. And he's already moved into the commercial business. He sent us a really nice video about a month or two ago, just telling us, saying thank you, because this program allowed him to go into the commercial business and bring clients with him, which is really critical, guys. If you want to do more bigger deals, commercial deals, do this first, because it allows you to move into the commercial world, bringing a book of business with you, which is really, really important. Okay, so cover page. First things first, right off the bat, where the smart money is. And by the way, the first time Dave sent this out, he sent out like 21 or 22 booklets. He got 3 phone calls. He didn't even send out 25, and he got 3 phone calls. As you can see, he uses a nice picture. Okay, I think this is Bedford, New Hampshire, actually, is where he's from. You can see it's got a nice, pretty view of the countryside, but also it's got some business-looking stuff here. Industrial, right, commercial, and you want to convey that image on your picture. That's very important. That's on your cover sheet, okay? And then you give your disclosure information, who you are, where you are, all that kind of stuff, your contact information, right? That's the first part. Second part is your introductory letter, okay? And looks like he just took mine and pretty much just used it, which you guys can do, certainly, okay? Then you want to give them a story, table of context, excuse me. Then you want to give them a story, and I think he actually used mine. He did use mine. It's actually an article I wrote. A story of an investment, because what this does is this makes it more real for the person reading this. Okay, so you give them a story. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to give them samples of properties in your area. And you can see there's one here for $130,000. and he's got them going up in the several $100,000 range coming up. But always give them the full printout, the full listing of every single one. And you want to give a little synopsis of each one too, like he did here. See? Breaks down net operating income, debt service, cash on cash return, cap rate, the whole 9 yards, right? And he gives a scenario of what it's like, what it would be like if you put down 13,000, finance the rest, et cetera, et cetera. So go through the exercise on each one of these properties you put in your booklet for the benefit of your client, of your prospect. So you can see here's one for 550,000. So and I think the reason he put in a variety of these properties, 100,000, 500,000 is sometimes you don't know who you're going to get on the receiving end. You know who you're sending it to, but you don't know their financial position until they call you and you interview them and qualify them, okay? So essentially this is all you're doing. Samples of property, all right? Here's one, the lower price one. Give them a brief synopsis at the end, okay, which we're going to show you here in a second, and what a pro forma looks like on this type of property, all right? And you can just do that. You can see it does that over and over again, all right? There's a number of them out there. In any case, that's essentially the anatomy of a booklet. And he wraps it up at the end very nicely with a little bit of a call to action, okay? This is his call to action. Now, once you get your first testimonial from your first client, you want to add that into your booklet, preferably up here somewhere after your last example, but before your wrap-up page. Give him a testimonial. It works great. All right, and that's the basic anatomy. As far as using it, guys, this is really important. They follow the rules. We've had agents out there who did not follow the instructions precisely. They tried to send this out to a variety of people, all different walks of life, different backgrounds, different vocations. And when you do that, you're spreading yourself too thin and your results will be diluted. What David did, which is very smart, is what we instruct is focus on a particular group of people, like dentists, like orthodontists, like engineers. If you look at your class notes, we give you all that in the class that we teach, and focus on that one group. And don't give up. Don't just send it once and be done with it. You want to send this thing out every month for 12 months to the same group of people. And if when they respond to you, you can stop sending it to them because they've responded to you and now they're prospects, okay? And then you go through your interview and you're qualifying, you want to qualify them and do all that in that initial interview, the initial conversation with them. But the bottom line is it's very easy. All you got to do is if you go online and Google your particular, go to your Yellow Pages, narrow it down by town or zip code, and then type in, whatever group you're looking for, mechanical engineers, orthodontists, what have you, plug those in there, and you'll get their names and numbers and addresses, and sometimes even website addresses, even email addresses, okay? And you send this booklet in a full-size legal envelope to those people at their business address, and you handwrite their name and address every single time, and handwrite your return address every single time too. That's really important. Always use a full-size legal envelope and send it to them to their business address, and keep doing that 12 times until they respond to you or 12 months lapses, and you should average 3 calls for every 25 booklets, okay? Then once you've exhausted the one group, let's say you're sending this out to orthodontists, and after 6 months all the calls have come in, nobody else is calling, go ahead and add another group. Add dentists, add electrical engineers, add whatever, But that's the basic function and use of the booklet. This is the anatomy. All of you have got a Word document version of mine. You can use that and copy it all you want. And as far as how you actually get the word out, I would think about a particular group of people. Like Faisal, for example, is online. He's a New Jersey State Trooper. And Faisal and I have had dinner together, and I highly encourage him to focus on the state troopers, okay, in his area, New Jersey. And I guarantee you, state troopers want to invest. In fact, one of them became one of our agents and now is an area director. His name's John Clyde. He's in New Jersey. So Faisal, there must be something about New Jersey State Troopers and investing and becoming agents. But in any case, you've got some a great role model for yourself right in your own state. But in any case, the point is you want to think of a group of people that you resonate with. a group of people that you will consider you one of them, and they're one of you, and you have a faster path to know you, like you, trust you. Okay, really important to pick a group of people that you resonate with. Okay, and remember, there's military, there's airline pilots, there's engineers, there's teachers, there's firemen and policemen, there's dentists and orthodontists, and there's chiropractors. Those are the 7 really good groups of people. Other groups can do well too. You can work with accountants if you want. It's not that they don't work. It's just they didn't make the top 7. Okay, but focus on a group of people that you feel aligned with in some way, shape, or fashion. Maybe your spouse or your husband or wife is a teacher, and you're a licensee. You can focus on that teacher group for investors. Okay, so I just want to give you a little bit about how you actually use this, not just what it looks like and how you build it, but how you actually use it. Okay, and hopefully we just accomplished that. So let me slide the panel back over and check for questions again. Hopefully this thing will cooperate. So let's go back to the top and work our way back. Okay, let's see. Oop, hang on one second. Let me make sure, Rocco, we got all your questions. So Rocco, you're asking with same content. Yeah, so Rocco, every month you need to change out your inventory. Okay, so every month new properties are listed, other properties have been sold, some have gone under contract. So you do have to change out your inventory. And he's also asking, do you send the same letter? Absolutely, same booklet, just change the inventory. Let's see. Hey Gary, do you have a sample to send to defaulted homeowners? Well, I think you're talking about the letter. The letter comes in the training material. You should have got that. I can't remember if Beverly gives it to you in Module 4 or right out of the gate with Module 1. I can't remember. You're going to get the letter regardless, Rocco. So you'll get the booklet here too, in fact. And you can certainly use the letter to send. The letters, what Rocco's talking about, guys, is a letter to find inventory. And you can certainly send it to people in distress, like divorcees, bankruptcy, foreclosure, probate, which is your decedents. In the case of landlords, you could send it to people going through a landlord-tenant case. They're evicting a tenant. So in any case, those are the uses of that. We can talk about the letter in a different webinar. See, so who is willing to buy and hold the tenants in New York are not easy. Well, I tell you what, Rocco. Let's see. You were in the Queens. When I looked at Brooklyn, 2/3 of all properties were lived in by tenants. So somebody is tolerant of tenants. In fact, 2/3 of your owners are tolerant of tenants. In the Bronx, it was 69, almost 70%. I can't remember the Queens, but I'm sure it's up there in that same range. So the bottom line is that every area is different. It's tough in New York. It's tough in New Jersey. It's tough in San Francisco and LA. It's tough in Montreal. I mean, it's tough in Toronto, actually more tough in Toronto. But if somebody's making money, it might as well be you or your client. So I wouldn't let something like that deter you. The fact is people own rental properties in those areas. 2/3 of them are rentals, and we think it should be you or your clients. Okay, let's see. How can I find the funds? So I think we mentioned that. I'm gonna get the name of the lender, Rocco, for you. Okay. Let's see what else. Do I have other questions here that I didn't get to? I think I got all the questions here. Okay, guys, it looks like I'm caught up on the questions. If I missed you, just shoot them to me in an email, and we will get to them in the next webinar, or perhaps we can do if you're ready for your next one-on-one strategy call. Absolutely let me know, and we can talk about any marketing campaign you want to talk about. Okay. Let's see. I just want to make sure I get all the questions, guys. I think we're okay. Oh, wait a minute. Natasha has one. So Natasha says, we'd love to discuss components, booklet marketing, and targeting list. Okay. And then she asks, Hi, Natasha, by the way. How are you? Great conversation today. How do I qualify, review potential candidates from booklet marketing? Okay, so Natasha, what happens is when they call you, you're going to give them a call to action. They're going to call you. You're going to go through an interview process. You're going to ask them open-ended questions, which is who, what, where, when, why, and how, and let them talk, and you do the listening. So it should be 1/3 you asking questions and talking, 2/3 you listening, and then once you've gotten through the initial conversation, that's all it is a conversation. They're going to give you some kind of an indicator, like they're ready to move forward, like what's next, what do we do now? And then you want to qualify them, and this is, Natasha, where if you remember in class, I gave you the 3 questions. You want to ask them, what do you have in savings? What is your credit score? And do you have an available line of credit? Okay? So, okay, in any case, Natasha also had the same question I think Rocco did. Help targeting local banks. Okay, so let's do that. Let me write this down because we're going to do that on the next session, which is going to be Monday night. Let's say local banks. We'll do that. We will do the rental property reporter, which is another rental calculator. We'll do the ARV and MAO. Those are calculations for flips. Okay, and I think that was it. That should be a pretty full agenda, by the way, if we manage to do all that. And then we'll save the letter for another time because that letter deserves a lot more time. Okay, so let's see. We got to Martinez's questions. Joe's questions we got to. Jackie we did. Let's see. Fassel. Fassel's saying, okay, what are some other ways to market besides mailing out workshops? So Fassel, in Module 4, you're going to get all the marketing campaigns. There's over 20 of them. There's even more we've added since then. He says he's actually a Patterson police officer. Okay, sorry about that, Fassel. Thank you for clarifying. So yeah, you'll get all the marketing campaigns in Module 4. Is there a Facebook group for us to all communicate as a group? I think Jody was working on that. Let me check with her and see if she has that built. But remember, you also have the community site where you all have now a profile on there. So if you go to the community site, you can post Q&A right on the community site. That's really a much better forum than using Facebook. Okay, let's see. I want to make sure that was Ariana. We got her. Anthony. We got to Anthony's questions. And I think that's it, guys. Okay. Well, listen, it's 8:08. I really appreciate you guys being on board here, participating. This was a very active webinar, which is exactly what I like. I love the Q&A because it tells me you're engaged, you're thinking, and you're taking action. And I tell you what, there's no more critical component to this than you guys taking action. So congratulations for doing that. Look forward to the next webinar next Monday night, which is the 4th. Excuse me, is that Monday or Tuesday? That's Tuesday night, October 4th. Okay. We got a pretty full agenda next week, but if you want to talk about other subjects, let me know, and we'll put them into the very next webinar the following week, and we'll keep going. Now, when you guys start to get to your 4th module, I want to start having some one-on-ones with you, okay? Because that's when the marketing comes in, and it's important that we walk you through those campaigns. So keep that in mind. And also, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to teach you. I appreciate it. I love doing this. It's fulfilling for me. It's what I call my mojo. So I appreciate it. You guys take care. I hope you have a wonderful weekend this weekend. God bless you, and I will see you on Tuesday night. Okay, bye-bye.